Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this session today. We are very excited to do this webinar. It is the first session as Guardsix, and this is super exciting. So thank you so much for joining. This session today is about building profitable, compliant MSSP services. And with me today, I have my really good colleagues, Andreas Föhringer and Paul Gower. Andreas is the director of our global MSSP business, and Paul is the director of customer engagement. And my name is Gitte Gade Jeppesen, and I am our global MSSP marketing manager here with Guardsix. I was about to say Lockpoint, because up until March 12th, our company name was Lockpoint. Now we are officially named Guardsix. And this is a new brand that we have been introducing, but it's basically a brand name. So the changes that you will have seen over the last almost month also is our brand name, which is Guardsix now. We have a new logo, some new really exciting colors. And we feel like this is a change that reflects the journey that we have been on as a company. So the new brand and the new look and feel really reflects where we are today with our products and our offering and our relationship with our customers. And it also reflects our journey to creating really strong partnerships with MSSP partners. And what does this mean for you guys? The ones that are already partners with us and the ones of you who are maybe looking into becoming an ally with Guardsix is that you can expect the same trusted solutions and support, but we are still committed to protecting what matters most. So we are your closest ally in cybersecurity. And our agenda today is, of course, we have like a short welcome by me. Then Andreas will talk a little bit about setting the picture for what is the MSSP's challenge today. And then Paul will be showing some really exciting stuff on how to onboard SIEM using APIs and our new detection as code. And at the end, we will have some questions and answers. Andreas, here you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also welcome from my side. Good to have you all here. I thought I'd start with a quote where the person of that SOC was not too much happy about really disclosing the name. But I think articulating the MSSP challenge makes it quite easy. So most MSSPs we see are growing, but not necessarily becoming more profitable. So regulations are increasing. The SOC team is already stretched, but the customers expect more. So pretty much the expectation or the need for scale without hiring is what the MSSP looks for when looking for technology. And that brings us quite nicely into what we define as a successful MSSP. So on the next slide, we can see our 4 key value drivers that we believe MSSPs are looking for. It's obviously the risk reduction and security outcomes, first and foremost, but also the operational efficiency and cost optimization, as well as financial and business growth. But certainly last but not least, the customer experience. You can also see some of the like almost KPI related drivers inside those key value drivers. At Guardsix, we believe that this is what you need. And what's very interesting from our perspective is that those drivers are connected. So let me put it that way. Efficiency enables scale. Scale drives profitability, and profitability improves customer experience, but also the outcomes. And this is what's possible with Guardsix. So our security platform, unified security platform on the next slide, is what we call the Guardsix Command Center. And it contains of several certain pillars, but ultimately, Guardsix is designed to enable these value drivers through a unified platform that holds, especially for MSSPs, automation and scalable multi-tenant operations, besides all the capabilities of each of those technologies that you are very much familiar with, meaning, for instance, with SIEM, it's all about visibility and detection, and so on and so forth. I will not go into any of those furthermore, but that is completely aligned with you being the hidden defenders in our eyes. So every person that is working in a SOC, we consider a hidden defender. And we are also purpose-driven. So when we talk about our purpose, we talk about we safeguard society in a digital world with you together being our closest ally, and we want to be your closest ally. The purpose is also on the next slide in a very nice picture, because this is really what we want to see. We want to see the society being in good shape. But then now the ultimate question, and that goes back to the agenda slide almost, and puts the stage hopefully quite nicely for you, Paul, is how do we operationalize this? And today there is a specific look on how do we onboard or use APIs for onboarding customers, but also scaling detection through detection as code. And yeah, those are the two main pillars of this webinar today. And that's why I'm happily handing over to you, Paul.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen just to make sure that you guys can see what I can see. So that would be a good start. All right, so I'm hoping you can see everything. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how we would onboard SIEM using API. And actually, this is an advert for a masterclass I literally published this morning, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But the idea here is, let's first understand why you would do it in the first place. So as an MSSP, that's going to really allow you to reduce how quickly you can do this onboarding. And if you can get this scripting right, it's literally minutes versus what used to take days before. And you could do this directly to SIEM. So that's one thing to say. We had Fleet or Director, and you could use API using that, but this is directly to SIEM now. So we've got a config API that you can use, and you can just write scripts to go and do onboarding very quickly. If you're reducing how quickly you can onboard, that's going to increase your gross margin growth, basically by lowering the onboarding costs. It means you can do more onboarding for each of your analysts, and basically those guys can actually do what matters to your customers. So that all helps as well. But the main thing I like is that if you've got 10 different customers and you have a particular way that you want to do things, you can standardize this detection now without any mistakes. So rather than having a guy go and configure it 10 times on 10 different SIEMs, you can write one script, you change the authentication, and then basically run that script out and configure all those boxes all at once, which is really good. As an end customer, it just means you get better time to value, means you can get detection coverage from the first day that they get the SIEM rather than waiting a week before anything happens. Also means that they have more consistent and reliable security across their environments. And as I mentioned before, it's really standardizing how you're going to go and configure this stuff, which means that the misconfiguration risk is much lower, and the risk of missing out what you're supposed to cover with your SIEM is also much lower. So you need to get this right once, and then you can just spin it out to a bunch of different customers as you see fit. All of that leads to greater confidence in your service in the first place, and gives you more confidence that you'll be able to deliver and meet your SLAs. So that's why we're doing it. And now what we'll do is take a quick look at the API strategy itself. So all of this stuff I'm talking about right now is all in the version 7.9 of our SIEM, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. So everything that I'm talking about here is already there as part of API, and you can go and use that today if you wish. So what I will say is please go and look at the masterclass, because that will tell you everything you need to know about how you're going to go and configure this. So the first pillar that we have is platform governance and security control. And basically what that means is you can configure out your system settings, things like HTTP certificate support, the support connection itself. If you wish to use that, you can do that with API. You can also do it, your enrichment settings. So if you have standard enrichment that you want to do with your SIEM, that can all be configured with code these days. And then finally, data privacy. If you want to go configure that, you can also do it directly from the script. The next pillar is what we call distributed architecture and fabric config control, but that kind of sounds like it's something that Director would do. But basically, it's more to do with repos and log sources. So you can configure a log source directly into SIEM, just using API. So that's quite nice as well. One thing to point out here, we can't do it the old way. So if you want to add devices, that's still using spreadsheet or however you're going to import the devices. But for log sources, which do include the devices that you're going to connect, you can go and do all of that stuff as much as you like. It also includes fetchers, ODBC fetcher, also configuring the normalization packages you need. So all of that stuff can now be done directly from curl commands. The next one is log ingestion and config automation. This is more to do with backups, really. So how to back up the system, how to do config backup, restore, and log backups. So if you want to do all of that stuff with a script, again, you can very easily do this with your API script. And then final one is basically resilience and lifecycle automation. So this is more to do with fleet or director configuration. So how are you going to configure your SIEM to go and talk to director or fleet? The fabric storage, the connectivity, open door config, if you want to go do that, set up VPNs and things like this, data node management, and also search head and the LPC connectivity as well, if you wish to do that. So in essence, this is what you can go do today with SIEM. One thing that isn't mentioned here, because it was previously part of the code, I will mention that in 7.9 they have made some changes, which you'll see in the masterclass actually, which is very big from my perspective, but it gives you the ability to either add your own alert rules in, so you can actually use a query to go add alert rules into the SIEM, or you can enable vendor rules now. So if you want to enable, well, we've got 1,500 or so vendor rules. If you want to enable any of those with APIs using curl commands, you can have at it and just enable or disable whatever you like. Remember that SIEM out of the box comes with no alert rules enabled, so this will save you a ton of time if you can just come up with a script to decide which alert rules you want and which you don't. So just to mention that part. I'm going to do a little plug now. So basically, as I mentioned, 7.9 is in PA, so priority access right now, which means any of you guys can download and test this stuff. You can do it today. There is also an automation masterclass. So this is talking about the specifics of how you would go and configure the API. So how you get the authentication working, how you configure the stuff in the first place. So using Postman, basically importing the templates to be able to do that. There's a little nice piece at the end. So those of you that have actually watched it already, congratulations. But we have set AI's-based configuration there as well. So I actually show you how you can use a private chat GPT instance. I just told it to learn all of the API calls, and I told it to read the manual is basically what I told it to do. And then I went ahead and said, well, hey, go give me all the Windows alert rules, for example. And it came up with the curl commands that I need just to be able to configure that into the SIEM. So this is pretty flexible stuff. And I think once you get used to it, it's a really fast way of going to configure the SIEM. So 2 things there. Please do sign up for 7.9 PA. You've got a couple of weeks if you want to go do it. If you want to review what I've just talked about on the automation masterclass, that's out now. Let me just see if I can quickly flick to a different screen. So this is the masterclass itself. So this first one here, onboarding SIEM using API, is the new masterclass that we've added today. So just log on to Academy, just have a look at the masterclass and see what's what. There's a new way of doing demos, by the way, so we quite like that. It's quite good fun. So do have a look at that. The next part I'm going to talk about is just detection as code. This was part of the API stuff that was in 7.7. It was 2 releases ago that we had the SIEM side way of being able to add our own detection rules or alert rules just using queries. So if you knew the query that you wanted to find, you just put it into it. Again, it's an API call and it'll add it in. That's also part of this masterclass, but there's a wider picture than this, which is how do we expand that functionality to give common config to everybody if they wish. So just want to talk a little bit about how that is. And it's kind of a future. You're talking probably second half of the year before you're going to see the reality of it. But I just want to tell you what's coming so that you're ready. Again, why would you do detection as code? Well, you can get some really good instant scale with this. You can roll out your detections across your customers very quickly. You don't have to do tenant by tenant updates. It's basically updated centrally and away you go. So again, all API based, all scripted. It cuts down on your rule maintenance. So what would happen, you could update a version of SIEM, and then suddenly all the alert rules were different to what you saw last time. So that can sometimes happen. We will change an alert rule from one version to another. So we won't have any focus on that. There'll be no maintenance to do. Whatever you're down ingesting from us will basically be the latest and greatest, and you don't have to do any maintenance. Gives you more focus on your own investigations and tuning this stuff. And the final one is a bit of predictability. So a little bit like the APIs, to be honest. It's standard detections. You'll get consistent behavior across your customer and fewer post-update surprises, which I already mentioned. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to supply a YAML file, so it'll be centrally available. It'll be a YAML-based detection as code format. It could be like Sigma rules. It probably isn't going to be the same format. In any case, what will happen is you'll take that YAML-based file, you're going to apply an SDK to it, which is just basically some conversion scripts ready to convert into your APIs to do what you need to do. And then we're going to come up with those APIs or CLI commands to be able to do fast deployment to multiple tenants. So that's basically the notion behind it. So the components are, there's a detection as code repository, which is the YAML file that I talked about. So we make that available. However, that will happen in the next few months. There'll be an SDK that you'll use to convert that repository into what you need. Then we use the API. And as I said, that API already exists. That's existed since 7.7. So you've had that ability to be able to add your own detections with your own database today. Been able to do that for some time now. Then you're going to deploy it out. So we need a way to just deploy this at scale. That's a future, so I can't tell you what I think will happen. It will probably work with Fleet, though. That's the point. You can put these detections out as a quick scale, so it's pretty good. And then you'll have your multi-tenant environment where you can just push this stuff out predictably to all your customers. So that's the detection as code piece. So some of that's there already in the product. Some of it, you're going to wait a few months. The repo and the SDK, we have them, but it's kind of in testing right now. And then how you're going to deploy it out would be the key to this. So that's coming. Watch this space. I guess this is, if you're interested in looking at, in particular, PA version of the code. So please just contact us. It's partner@guardsix.com, and we'll basically be able to sign you up for that and get you going. So we do have some customers already testing, but the more the merrier. You've got a couple of weeks, so get to it. I think that was it.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, that call to action has kind of two dimensions, of course. One is for our existing partners, of course, to make use of the priority access, reach out to either partners at guardsix.com or to your successful sales manager, of course. And that was also part of the Q&A question from you, Martin. But second, of course, if you're interested in getting to know how the Guardsix SecOps platform or the command center can help you being better on those value drivers, then we just said, let's try to assess that together. This would include even a technical POV. So we're offering this in order to showcase that the technology can support you and your business. And so again, the call to action has the two dimensions. From the dimension one, our existing partners, but of course also everyone here in that room that is not yet one of our allies and vice versa. Let's get close together.
Okay, just on the Q&A side, so Martin, I put the direct link for the masterclass into the chat, so you should be able to connect to it directly. Just log in as a partner. If you have trouble, just reach out to us. We'll make sure you can get on. Other than that, are there any other questions? Any Q&A?
Let's have a look in the chat as well, because I offered also people to type the chat or get it. But in the chat, there is nothing.
No, there is just a question about, the how to access the masterclass. And please make sure that you go and check out our new website and all of our new channels. So we have a brand new LinkedIn page. Go make sure that you go and follow that so you don't miss out on any news from us coming. And yeah, check out our new website. There's a lot of new cool stuff in there. And if you have any questions regarding the new brand or what Paul showed you, please feel free to reach out to us directly. We're happy to help you guys.